Welcome,
Okay.
everyone. I am pleased today to have Bryan Gregory, our VP of CX Solutions, and we'll chat real briefly about the importance of helping people develop in their careers. And one aspect of that is training. So we're going to talk about that today. But first, Bryan, welcome.
Thank you. Good. Hey, good to be here. Appreciate it.
Uh, just briefly tell the audience something about your background.
Well, it's been a diverse journey, that's for sure. But one thing I value is just learning something new. I think somewhere in my strengths finder, up around number one is learner, and so I think that's been a lifelong thing. And therefore, I love building training and helping people. And I spent some time in Advanced Auto Parts, about 13 years as director of training there. That was unique. We had 72,000 employees, 6,600 store locations. If I sent out 15 minutes of training, it was well over $500,000 of labor. So you had to learn quickly how to be engaging, how to be compelling, and how to be memorable. And those were great skills to build, and build an incredible team there. Did a lot of amazing things, and then spent a little bit of time at GE, specifically GE Digital, doing the same thing. And except in that case, the whole training staff was engineers. So there's a bunch of people a whole lot smarter than me that had to interpret training stuff, and we had to help them learn how to be engaging. And everything's not a one and a zero, and everything's not black and white. And so we had a lot of fun together there. But that was awesome because that was worldwide, kind of an international training stage. And what you learn very quickly is adult learning principles are the same. Doesn't matter if it's in Bangladesh or in Portland, Maine. It's the same. So we took that recipe and kind of brought that over into the world of customer experience, and we're having a blast here at the Daniel Group, trying to help our clients be even more successful.
Um, Bryan, I want to go back and you mentioned the word uh, sort of learning styles, how people learn. Let's talk a little bit about what that actually means.
Yeah, it's important to factor in when doing any training design, and many times that gets lost because it's so tempting to say, "Hey, we have a knowledge gap, and we've got to teach a process or a system or a thing," and people tend to leave out a lot of the why. And so we'll come back to that, I'm sure. But in the learning style of today's adults, life's going fast, man. And so, Stanford, Michigan, there's a lot of university, Harvard Business Review do pretty much constant research on this. What are the learning styles, right? And lecture learning, that traditional classroom lecture thing, is getting less and less fashionable. What they've learned is adults over the age of 21 retain 5 to maybe 10% of that. So if you're spending money on training for your team, you're going, is that the best bang for the buck? A lot of people like to read. 10 to 20% of adults are reading learners. Like, I'll believe it, and I'll actually get it when I read it, but I got to read it first. About 30% of adults really like demonstrations, some kind of practicum, hands on. And that's where labs have a lot of value. Discussion is really powerful with adult learners as well, practice and simulation. And then ultimately, where we want to get to is we want the learners that we have to be able to teach back what they've learned. And that's where that maximum kind of ownership of knowledge really comes into play. And so figuring all of that into your training design matters these days, especially again when people are paying, for training. So you got to think interactions. You got to think, hey, we're trying to teach judgment here. We're not necessarily trying to teach a task. Or if you do have to teach some tasks, you want to include the purpose behind the task. And in the training building world, training design world, we call that the why. And more than ever, adults need it. The other really interesting thing with adult learners is we all bring life experience into that training session. Whatever yours is, mine is, whomever, we all bring experience. So that might be bias, that might be, hey, congruous with what I'm being taught, going, yeah, that's true. But we all bring that experience. And so rather than asking people to put that away at the door, we want to tap into it and find out what it is. And
Okay.
then the really fun thread that we get to bring to it here at the Daniel Group is we've got over 1.5 million surveys complete where customers are telling us their truth and what's important to them. Well, we factor and engineer that right into our content. It's almost like a little bit of a cheat sheet. So we don't have to wonder if we got it right in training design. We're following that truth serum.
Now, going back to that point, because I know you and I have talked a lot about the lack of customer centricity when it comes to training. Tell me a little bit more about what you mean and how do you get that customer centricity there?
Yeah, it's you know, you got to first understand the customer, and you know there's various ways to do that, but so many times people say, hey, I've got a staff or a team, they need to know XYZ step-by-step procedures, internal workflows, maybe it's compliance. All of that is really, really important. But employees, you know, can be memorizing the steps, but not really understanding the point. And that's where technically trained employees, if they're lacking customer context, you're never going to, it's going to be a missing element, right? And so that's where a lot of our customers have long-standing team members, been there a long time. They know where the bodies are buried, right? They know all the weaknesses and strengths of the system. But when you need them to go above and beyond system or process training, if they understand what their customer's going through, the context of that moment, that's where their prowess and their expertise really shines. And we see that in surveys all the time. We have a lot of our clients call out employees that went above and beyond. Hey, it wasn't in the system and process training, right? It was the professional that they're allowed to be because we taught value versus teaching a rule. And that's really what we're about at the Institute, is teaching value creation.
Okay, interesting, interesting. And that's sometimes got to be very hard to get that customer feedback into that training process.
It can be, but I'll tell you, it's been, you know, just having that repository of knowledge to plug into here at the Institute through the Daniel Group is a huge head start. Have had many conversations with clients in the last several months to say, hey, you know what, communication's a real big issue. Are you seeing that too? Yeah, let's talk about the specifics. So once you identify a theme, then the next level is to take that same survey feedback and say, where specifically is it a theme or a repeat issue? Let's go attack that. And then my very next question is, who's your audience? You know, what employees of yours need to get that training? Because we can build it now very quickly based upon what needs done.
Now, one last area I want to talk about, which is all around us these days, this day and age. We got AI, of course, it's top of mind, machine autonomy, all things digital. With these new technologies coming along, where do humans fit in?
Oh yeah, great question. You know, I think human relationships within the business context are not going to go out of fashion anytime soon. There will be commodity things. Hey, maybe I'm even looking forward to the day when I can go to McDonald's and, you know, talk to a robot and never have to deal with anybody who delayed my order. Maybe, but in the world we live in industry, where relationships are the very core of everything. You know, the human to human is not going to go out of style, and so we have to look at AI as a tool to strengthen up either speed or quality, in our case, both, using those engines to get voice of customer very quickly interpreted, identified, consistent themes, turn that into learning objectives, and be able to crank out almost on demand, just in time training at paces that we just couldn't before. For the last 10 years, that would take you months, certainly weeks. Now it's days, sometimes hours. And so we can identify a problem, validate the problem, build a solution to the problem, all with a little bit of AI muscle that we just didn't have even a year ago. So that's how we're using it. Yeah, I think in the world of you know, big construction brands, we're seeing some autonomy now. There's machine learning going on there too, which is kind of interesting. I'm anxious to see how, fast forward another year, that machine learning, all of the strokes and moves and hydraulic actions that machine took throughout the day are being recorded. It's going to be interesting to see, what do we do with that? Like, can that turn into smoother operator training for the autonomy operator? I don't know, but that's going to be a really interesting journey as well.
That's interesting. Some of the ways you're already thinking about AI can be used to certainly help what we're trying to do from a training standpoint.
For
Fascinating.
sure.
Bryan, thank you so much for your time today. I greatly appreciate it.
Hey, great to be here. Thank you, Lynn. Come visit us at the CX Institute, everybody.